Hello, 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 and welcome to the Collapse Experiment, where I discuss the current state of the collapse. We've had a weekend, which unfortunately means there's a lot of stories. I'm starting this a little bit early because I have other things to do. Uh, I recently started publishing a new story through Kindle Vella, which means I have to be on a schedule, have to keep plugging away at it. I need to make the time in order to get this project done. And hopefully, if you are willing, possibly come over there to help read it and share it and hopefully enjoy it. It is called Crossroads. And as far as I know, the first episode is up. The first 3 episodes are free through this platform. And then after that, there's kind of a paywall, I guess you could say. You have to buy tokens, and then depending on the story, you have to spend tokens in order to read further installments of said story. So it's an experiment for me. Worst case scenario is I write this thing, nobody's following it, and then I have a finished book at the end that I can still publish in one volume on Amazon. So anyways, to get to the news, because I know that's why you're really here. You don't want to hear about my BS. Oh man. Okay. Oh, how did this move? Let's see here. Nope. Nope. Oh man. Somehow during all that rambling, this there we go. Here's one I want to start off with because that picture that I use for this, yeah, people are gonna say, well, he's talking about China, but that's North Korea. The original script, the original plot that they made for the newer version of Red Dawn from 2012, China invades the US. It's the plot that makes sense. But then Chinese investors in China themselves heard about this movie and said, no, we don't like that. We actually plan to do that. Why would you tell people? And so um, later on, post production, they changed everything to North Korea digitally, including like patches on uniforms and stuff. It was a whole debacle. Made the budgeting for the movie even worse than it already was, which is insane. But yeah, China. China's at it again. So not only, and this is a story I'll get to later, not only is Beijing looking to lock down, Beijing, the capital of the country, the heart of China, is looking to lock down. They're already doing forced PCR tests on citizens in certain neighborhoods. Why is this doing this to me? I did not. I'm really pissed off about these touch screens. I hate it. There we go. Okay. So, anyways, Beijing, a neighborhood of Beijing, which is a population of 4 million people, they're doing PCR tests. The rest of Beijing's flipping out, going to the store, buying as much food as they possibly can because the people of Shanghai are starving. And there's a good reason for that. Watch. Social media videos show officials dumping food in lockdown Shanghai. This is available. You can find it on thecollapseexperiment.com. And it is the people who are organizing the food that is donated to Shanghai to help feed the people there. Officials told these people, I don't know if they're employees of the state or I guess everybody is because it's communist. So, have to be a good comrade, I guess. They were ordered to dump all this food into a dumpster. Now, the officials said when the food arrived, it was all spoiled and rotten. This guy filmed himself dumping the food, shows him opening a box where it's fresh bananas, apples, all kinds of fruits and vegetables that are in this box. And he says, this is a total shame. I don't understand why they're doing this. It's all fresh. It's all good. Why can't we give this out? Because they're purposely trying to kill people. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you. Did somebody in Shanghai give, like, a leader of the Communist Party, like, syphilis or something? I don't know, but it seems very vindictive and, not really doing them any good. So, but yeah, you can check that out. I can't really show it here because I am technologically retarded, and even if I did, I don't know if I'd be able to technically share it, but oh, moving on. As the yen craters, Japan begs U.S. for coordinated currency intervention is rejected by Yellen. Um, this is something that hasn't been coming up, but Japan apparently is having a bunch of financial issues. Um, haven't really heard about anything about this since the early 90s, where they had deflation. They're bringing in so much money into the country where even the poor, the homeless were doing pretty good. Yeah, it was a weird situation. They were overly successful in Japan during the 80s and it bit them in the ass in the 90s, and they've kind of been dealing with that ever since. Yen at risk of explosive downward spiral with Kuroda trapped and why China may soon devalue. Um, and And that more or less is what happened with the Japanese currency subsequently suffering the longest stretch of daily losses in history with 13 consecutive days of losses. The absent an occasional short squeeze, it is unlikely that this relentless trend lower in the yen trajectory will change anytime soon as it comes at the expense of the BOJ's being able to maintain its yield curve control, blah, 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 blah. So the yen itself is dropping in value. Um, I don't know if that would have any. Maybe they have some inflation going on. I don't know. But let's see here. That said, it is unlikely that the new Plaza Accord is imminent, as Washington will find it very hard to consent to yield yen buying intervention, as it would drive down the dollar and accelerate already soaring US inflation. We can't even help our allies because the people in charge are a bunch of retards. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? I don't really give a shit. Uh, TBS reported when approached by routers on the report, a Japanese finance ministry official said he could not comment on whether joint currency intervention was discussed at the meeting, which means that it was. The Japanese are, there's that whole honor system. They're not going to admit when things are going wrong. They're going to try to hide it, hopefully change it behind the scenes, the man behind the curtain. And when that doesn't work, uh, that still goes on over there. If you want to know about that, watch Tokyo Vice. Yes, I'm plugging a show I have absolutely no monetary involvement in because it's a good show. And if you don't like it after I recommend it and you watch it, then I'm probably not the channel for you on YouTube either. It's pretty darn good. The book is really good as well. I read that quite a few years ago. So yeah, Japan, not in a great spot. What is going on here? Oh, I see what's doing the same thing it did last time. I gotta reload my own website, get back to where I was. Or it's just being a piece of crap. Let's see here. Here we go. Here we go. All right. All right. Yep. Yep. That looks good. More about China. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There we go. Okay. I have all my stories now. Let's move on. The Russia NATO cyber war is escalating fast. You think? I wonder why we have a bunch of stuff burning down all the time. I don't know. Don't ask the FBI. They're too busy watching guys like me. I think it might be a fetish. Fears are rising that the boundaries of the cyber war between Russia and NATO could soon spread beyond Europe. It's already here. Who wrote this and how dumb are you? Nick Corbishley. Corbishly. What kind of name is that? It's got to be made up. Nakedcapitalism.com. Just like that website name. 8 cybersecurity authorities from so-called Five Eye nations, United States, United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. Yeah, I trust the New Zealanders. Released a joint statement on Thursday warning that more malicious cyber activity is on the way as Russia's invasion of Ukraine continues to impact geopolitical stability. Now, why would they attack food processing centers if that's what's happening? Because an army rolls on its belly. If you can't feed your soldiers, you can't have a standing army. If you can't feed your citizens, you're probably not going to get the backing of the citizens to go to war with an army that can't be fed. So it's a pretty good strategy that they have going on here. If that's allegedly what is happening. Before we look at the statement in any depth, an important 5-pronged caveat is needed. Both the US and UK are among the primary antagonists in NATO's ongoing war with Russia. They both have significant offensive cyber war capabilities of their own. Have we heard about anything in Russia blowing up, being caught on fire, burning down recently? No chemical plants or anything. US intelligence agencies at Obama's behest. How is Obama coming into this? Have drawn up a list of potential overseas targets for cyber attacks. Both countries have surreptitiously conducted vast surveillance programs targeting not only their own populations, but also citizens and government leaders of their countries, and the world right now is in the grip of the biggest information war of this century. Yeah, it's called lying. It's called propaganda, which is another word for lying. uh, no, if they think the cyber war is misinformation, they're horribly stupid people that really should not be writing articles like this. No, that is not the cyber war. The cyber war is shit blowing up, things malfunctioning, and you don't even have to have a person on the inside anymore. You just on the computer, and then all of a sudden something. We learned about this 20 years ago. Moving on, 2 Russian oligarchs found dead just 1 day apart. Huh. Maybe they had a suicide pact. I don't know. This is through Zero Hedge. The bodies of 2 Russian oligarchs are found dead alongside their wives and children just 1 day apart, according to a handful of media reports. The first was Vladislav Ayayev, formerly vice president of Gazprom Bank. Gazprom. Fishy. He was found killed by a gunshot wound in his Moscow apartment on Monday, Russia's state-run TASS news agency reported. Police are looking into a theory that Ayayev shot his wife and children and then himself, although the names of the victims are not included in a public statement from the Russian government. TASS said an unnamed source later confirmed their identities. Okay, investigators said that in their statement that they believe Avayev shot his wife and daughter and then himself. You already said that. Zero Hedge is really bad at that. The second oligarch was found killed in Spain, some 2,000 miles away. Al Qaeda couldn't coordinate anything like that. Why would we think the Russians could? His name was Sergei Protosenya, and he was found stabbed to death with his wife and daughter. Local media outlets claim that he had been found with a bloodied knife and an axe by his side. Prior to his death, Protosenya had been the vice president and chief accountant of Novatek, a major gas company with close ties to Gazprom Bank. Yeah, that's not fishy at all. Slaughtered their families, then themselves. At the time of their killings, Protosenya and his wife and their daughter were staying in a rented luxury villa, Lorette de Mar a coastal Catalan town for Easter period. Yeah, sounds like he was definitely planning on that. Let's see here. Happy Monday. Are you an informant? Well, if I was a cop, I'd have to tell you if you asked, right? That's how it works over a pipe. uh, Protosenya left no suicide note and there was no bloodstains on his body. Weird. At the time of the killings, he had a personal fortune of more than 433 million, according to Telecinco. Russian authorities said the family's villa, situated in Spain's Costa Brava, is thought to be the family's second home alongside their residence in France. So yeah, totally fishy. I wonder what's going on there. Why two major oligarchs for Gazprom Bank would be targeted. How do you slaughter your family with a knife and an axe and have no blood on yourself? Um, anybody who's watched Dexter knows that's not really a thing. I suppose he watched American Psycho. Maybe he wore a rain suit. I don't know, but even that dude had a bunch of blood on his face from getting Jared Leto chopped up. So I don't know, but definitely does not sound doesn't sound fishy at all. No. So there's also moving on, there's a two-part story that was published through Zero Hedge. China on the verge of a major food crisis, part one and part two. I'm not going to dive into those, but you can check those out on thecollapseexperiment.com. It's very obvious China has some issues, but then again, they also have a year and a half's worth stockpiled supply of food. Why they would be systematically killing a population of 25 million in Shanghai, I don't know, other than extending food supplies. Maybe they consider city folk to be a bunch of useless people. Who knows? It's the whole communist theory. Everybody's equal except pigs are more equal than others. Um, it's not the four-legged, it's the two-legged. The two-legged are equal. Now the two-legged are not equal. That whole theory. I think Orwell was on to something with that. Moving on, CDC issues nationwide alert about mysterious hepatitis cases in children. Why would there be a sudden uptick in hepatitis in children? It's not like they're being stuck with needles or encouraged to or anything. So this is through Jack Phillips via the Epoch Times. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, also known as the CDC, to get fancy, issued a health advisory for children in Alabama were discovered to have adenovirus virus and hepatitis infection. Adenovirus? I'm going to say adenovirus. They said that a cluster of children have been infected with both hepatitis and adenovirus after clinicians at a large hospital in Alabama issued a notice to the CDC in November 2021. Wonder what took so long. 5 pediatric patients with significant liver injury, including 3 with also acute liver failure, who also tested positive for adenovirus, were reported by the hospital to the CDC, according to the agency, adding that the children were previously healthy and that none had COVID-19. Case finding efforts at this hospital identified 4 additional pediatric patients with hepatitis and adenovirus infection for a total of 9 patients admitted from October 2021 through February 2022. The agency further wrote 2 of those patients required a liver transplant and no patients died. The cool thing about a liver transplant is that you can actually cut the liver in half and it will regrow elsewhere after it's transplanted. So you can technically double your liver, which is pretty awesome. Other than the 9 Alabama cases, 2 have been identified in North Carolina. Health Department officials told local media. Authorities are now investigating a link between pediatric hepatitis and adenovirus cases. The agency has also asked clinicians and state public health officials to report if children under the age of 10 are found to have elevated uh, aspartate aminotransferase, or I could never ever read these medical terms, suggesting liver problems. They're looking for things to show that they have liver problems. Um, CDC also noted that 5 children with adenovirus type 41, which typically presents as diarrhea, vomiting, and fever. Why does everything have the same symptoms? Diarrhea, vomiting, fever. That's called the flu. Weird. It can also be accompanied by respiratory symptoms. And let's see here. Oh, here we go. It's like halfway in here. At least 100 children in the United Kingdom under the age of 10 have been diagnosed with acute hepatitis from an unknown cause. Authorities have said, the UK official said, there is no link between the cases and the COVID 19 jabby jab, 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 jab. Which also means they have absolutely no idea whether or not it is actually from that, because there hasn't been enough time for them to do the study. Awesome. So, yeah, that's kind of where I knew that was going to be going. Moving on, FBI warns of targeted cyber attacks on food plants after mysterious rash of fires. I covered this in a previous video because the FBI is filled with a bunch of idiots, and after 9 months of a bunch of stuff blowing up and catching fire, they just now issue this warning, because they're really observant and bright people. They've never just let crimes happen for long periods of time before they jump in and start doing their jobs. They're usually on top of it. The FBI Cyber Division, I'm surprised they have one. I mean, wasn't that a thing with 9/11 where they're like, the FBI still has green screen computers to work on? Wasn't that one of the issues? Is they don't keep up with technology? Anyways, their cyber division, public. I wonder if they have the old modems that are like. um, a notice this past week warning about increased cyber attack threats on agricultural cooperatives, which has already been happening. Farmers have been reporting this, just adding that in there, which come at a time when a curious string of fires, explosions, major food processing plants across the country. And of course, they go in to say it's not government, it's ransomware actors may be more likely to attack agricultural cooperatives during a critical planting and harvesting season, disrupting operations, causing financial loss, and negatively impacting the food supply chain. That's because you idiots told these companies to pay the ransom. That's the official statement from the Biden administration. Remember the pipeline that was shut down like right after Biden became president? Or I'm sorry, was instated as president and installed as president. And the response from the federal government wasn't, we're going to catch these people, we're going to annihilate them, they're enemies of this. No. It was just pay them. We'll compensate you the money. We'll just print more money. That's how we roll. It's we can just pay it. Yeah. So that's not going to increase ransomware stuff or anything. That's not an incentive at all. Okay. The notice read, adding 2021 and early 2022 ransomware attacks on farming co-ops could affect the current planting season by disrupting the supply of seed and fertilizer. because we don't have anything else already happening at the moment that does exactly that. The agency warned a significant disruption of grain production could impact the entire food chain. Since grain is not only consumed by humans but also used as animal feed. In addition, a significant disruption of grain and corn production could impact commodities, trading, and stocks. I'm so glad the FBI has finally read. It's just. Uh, I'm glad that they finally took a basic economics course. That's awesome. The FBI, instead of reading white fragility, they're finally reading books on economics. The FBI's warning comes as nearly 24 food processing facilities across Canada and the U.S. have experienced a string of fires, plane crashes, and explosions. It's more than 24. They can't even count this stuff. Um, One YouTube channel replied it was more like uh what was it? They had 19 that were officially like they could actually look it up. There's this neat little meme. Let's see here. There it is. That neat little meme right here that shows a bunch of news articles about different places that have caught fire, burned down, exploded, had planes crash into them. Yeah, this has been an ongoing thing. Um, And then there's this meme on Twitter, which shows an entire list of a bunch of Yeah, this has been going on for a while. I'm so glad the FBI is jumping on this. If it wasn't for them, Governor Whitmer might have ended up at a swingers party and gotten beaten for having a good time. Um, Moving on. A magnet for conspiracy theories. That's a quote. Wikipedia kills entry for Hunter Biden's investment company. I thought this was pretty much like an open source, like anybody can add an entry. Um, this is totally weird. I wonder if they're just not going to allow any reference to his laptop either. Because are they still going with the Russian misinformation thing? Like, they created the video footage of him with underage Chinese hookers. Is that where we're going with this? Wikipedia editors are under fire this week for removing the entry for Rosemont Seneca Partners, the investment company connected to Hunter Biden and his alleged multi-million-dollar influence peddling schemes. Woo! The site bizarrely claims that the company was not notable. That's pretty sad. Like, how small of a company does Hunter Biden have? Like, what kind of package deal is that? The timing itself is notable given the new disclosure that Hunter Biden's business partner, Eric Schwerin, Schwerin, made at least 19 visits to the White House and other official locations between 2009 and 2015. Who was in office during that time? 2009 to 2015? Come on. That included a meeting with the then Vice President Joe Biden, the big guy himself, despite Biden's repeated claim that he knew nothing about his son's business dealings. Schwerin was the president of Rosemont Seneca. Wikipedia has been accused of raw bias in removing the entry at the time when the interest in the company is at its peak, including the possibility of an indictment of Hunter Biden over his official dealings. Rosemont Seneca is one of the most searched terms for those trying to understand the background on the Biden business operations. Weird. That is so weird, Wikipedia. Hmm. I don't know. I'm personally I'm glad that they're cleaning that stuff up. Maybe they can go in there and change a few other things. Moving on, Germany borrows another 40 billion euros to cushion fallout from the war in Ukraine. There's still more articles after this. It's been an insane weekend. So, uh, famously debt adverse Germany. I know, right? Like, whatever happened to like Austrian economics? It's Deutschland, not Austria, but whatever. Has decided that it will need to borrow nearly 40 billion euros or $43 billion to cushion its economy from the blowback caused by the war in Ukraine. They plan to use the money to blunt the economic and financial impact of the war on more handouts for the country's citizens, which has led to a surging energy prices that will be shouldered by German companies and consumers, according to Bloomberg, who cited several sources close to the German government. Once finalized, the proposal from Financial Minister Christian Lindner will then be sent to the Bundestag, Germany's parliament, for approval. So yeah, everybody is borrowing money out the butt. It's crazy. And it's only going to get crazier if this embargo with Russian oil goes in. Just a reminder, if anybody has any questions about any of these stories or anything else, you can use the question comment section. Post your death threats there. It's all cool. I won't ban you because any publicity is good publicity, right? Especially when you only have like 300 and some odd followers and 0 people listening. Wow. That thing's always going in and out. I don't know how accurate that is. UK's largest supermarket begins rationing cooking oil amid supply disruption. Whew. All right. If record high food prices weren't enough, the Russian-Ukraine conflict that choked off the world of sunflower oil supply, forcing the largest supermarket in the UK to begin rationing. I didn't realize how much sunflower was out there, but I guess it's also a vegetable oil from what somebody was telling me. The Guardian reports that Tesco, with more than 4,000 retail stores, placed buying limits of 3 cooking oil bottles per customer. It follows Waitrose and Morrison's, other supermarket chains that set limits to just 2 per customer. Well, if you're going to go anywhere, you got to go to Tesco. So, UK's biggest retailer is experiencing sourcing issues with cooking oil, especially sunflower oil, which much of it comes from Ukraine as retailers panic about sourcing edible oils. It has driven retail cooking oil prices up an average of 20% in the last year. So, not big on the whole cooking oil thing. We use a lot of olive oil here. I understand that there's a lot of different, I don't know, ethnic groups, different countries that use a lot of cooking oil. I do have some British cookbooks. Don't really see a whole lot in there when it comes to cooking oil. Supermarkets are also placing buying restrictions on olive and rapeseed oil. You got to limit that rapeseed. Bad things happen when you use rapeseed. There was news Friday that the world's largest palm oil producer, Indonesia, announced an export ban of all cooking oil and palm oil products, which add even more tightness to global cooking oil supplies. I am concerned about this because if there's one thing that palm oil is used in, it's making Doritos, and I love my Doritos. I will not tolerate this. If we have to go to war with Indonesia to get more Doritos, I am all for it. I've said it. I'm not taking it back. Moving on. U.S. to respond accordingly if Solomon Islands China pact permits military base. I don't know what that means. Hopefully, they will explain. Respond accordingly. What? Biden's going to poop himself again? I don't know. The United States has warned the Solomon Islands leadership that it would respond accordingly if a military installation on the Pacific Islands nation is allowed under the terms of the Solomon Islands China Security Pact. Well, if you're so concerned about it, why didn't you put a military base there yourself? The White House stated Friday that a high-level U.S. delegation has met with the Solomon Islands leadership in Honoria, I'm assuming that's honorea. Thankfully for them, they did not spell that with a G, and raised concerns about the purpose and transparency of the agreement. According to its statement, Solomon Island officials have clarified that the security deal is solely for domestic applications, but the U.S. delegation claimed that it posed potential regional security implications for Washington and its allies. Well, considering how much influence China has these days, why wouldn't you expect other smaller countries to be trying to get some backing from them? Um, all I'm saying is if Red Dawn, the 2012 version, happens, unedited with the actual Chinese antagonist in the script, I would not be surprised or sad for that matter. Sounds like a whole lot of fun to me. So, moving on, satellite maps expose Shanghai supply chain standstill. This was pretty eye-opening. There's a couple photos that are in here that um, it looks like. So it shows the port of Shanghai, and then it's a black and white map, and in where the ocean is, it looks like the nighttime sky, a nice clear night, no clouds, out in the country with less light pollution. um, you can literally see thousands of ships offshore, um, either waiting to go into port or waiting to leave. So it's very eye-opening. They do have a comparison from 3 years ago where it's definitely not as bad. Let's see here. Moving into the article. China has mandated a strict zero COVID policy since the onset of the global pandemic. I'm so glad you had to restate that for us after 2 years of dealing with this bullshit. Thank you, Zero Hedge, which has led to tight lockdowns across the country whenever cases have started to spike. I think they need an editor because that whole first paragraph could just be cut out. Recently, lockdown restrictions have been enacted in major cities like Shenzhen and Shanghai as China deals with one of its worst outbreaks since Wuhan. And okay, as visual capitalists Carmen Ang and Rick Rootley detail below, these cautionary measures have led to far-reaching impacts. Blah 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 blah. Get to the map. How bad is the backup? You gotta jump to this part. There's a closer look at a satellite imagery that has captured by the Sentinel-1 satellite, which shows the current congestion at Shanghai's port as of April 14th, 2022. In the image, a majority of the white dots are cargo ships, many of which have been stuck in limbo for days. And it looks pretty insane. Quite a difference from 3 years ago. They do a comparison. Traffic has been built up at the Shanghai terminal as of April 19th, 2022. Over 470 ships are still waiting to deliver goods to China. If you'd like to check out the Shanghai port's most up-to-date traffic, this live map, the actual marine traffic provides real-time updates. So you could check that out for yourself at any time. Number of container vessels waiting outside Chinese ports today is 190%, 95% higher than it was in February. Although it doesn't give an exact number of ships, it's up there. Last count I heard was over 2,000. So things are pretty insane over there right now. China would support Russia even if it used tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine war, former defense official. That's coming out of China. That doesn't discourage them at all from doing that. Good to know. The Chinese Communist Party would continue to support Vladimir Putin's regime in Russia in the event that it used tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine, according to former Assistant Secretary of Defense Graham Allison. The answer is yes. Allison said when asked if China would continue to support Russia regardless of escalations by Putin. Even if it comes to Putin's use of tactical nuclear weapons on a target in Ukraine, Ellison, a professor of Harvard University, delivered the remark as part of an April 19th lecture on a strategic situation between China, Russia, Ukraine, and the United States, and at the Institution of International and Strategic Studies, a security-focused think tank. He warned that the United States and China are heading towards a catastrophic outcome. Yeah, that's duh. Due to their increasing antagonistic rivalry, that China's bur- burgeoning alliance with Russia complicated the international security given increasing fears that Russia could deploy a tactical nuclear weapon in Ukraine. This guy is old. He's been on the Defense Policy Board since 1985. 1985. So I'm guessing he's probably in his 70s. Uh, expect things to get worse before they get worse. I'm going to repeat that because this dude literally said this. Expect things to get worse before they get worse. Most people in Washington still cannot accept the fact that Xi is built with Putin's Russia, a functional alliance that is operational, more significant than most of the U.S. treaty alliances. Yep. All right. Okay. So I believe this guy, and he's speaking my language. Things will get worse before they get worse. Moving on, Russian airlines told to prepare for world without GPS. I thought this was really interesting considering people's lack of ability to traditionally navigate, use maps. They plug in stuff into. I'm guilty of it too. When I was doing deliveries for different companies, just getting the phone or navigation system out, plugging it in, and driving into a lake. That didn't really happen, but it was a funny episode of The Office. So, Russian air traffic regulators sent a warning to airlines about potential oncoming flights without using the American global positioning system. Now, keep in mind, GPS was not intended or developed to be used for navigation, flight controls. It was intended for missile strikes to have a more accurate missile strike. That is what GPS was designed for. I remember as a kid, they were talking about this, and using GPS coordinates, you could land a missile within what, like 5 feet of a potential target. Russian newspaper Izvestia is Vestia. I should really take Russian. I think it would sound really cool speaking Russian. Yet. Reported Friday that a letter from the Federal Air Transport Agency, FATA, instructed national airlines to be aware of GPS failures, degradations, and abnormal performances. So they're thinking we could use that to disrupt things. Areas prone to jamming of GPS signals and spoofing attacks include Russia's western enclave, the Kaliningrad region over the Black Sea, east of Finland, and the Mediterranean. The letter said FATA would assist aircraft crews when GPS signals are disrupted or turned off. So they're preparing for us to mess with their GPS systems, and that could affect airlines. That's actually kind of cool, I guess. I don't fly, so why do I care? I definitely would not fly Russian Airlines. CDC issues nationwide alert about hepatitis cases in children. I already covered that. Twitter board more receptive to a deal. Meeting with Musk today as re-examines bid. This was from yesterday, and there's an update on that. So I'm going to skip that one. I'll just read the one that's for today when I get to it. Florida sheriff, we prefer homeowners to shoot burglars to save taxpayer money. Some of my favorite news articles start out with Florida man, um, but this one takes the cake because it's Florida sheriff, and again, he's speaking my. If I had a law enforcement power animal, it might be this guy. Homeowners under attack by a burglar won't need to retreat or try to escape, but rather stand their ground and, if necessary, use deadly force. This is what a Florida sheriff told residents. I wonder if they're having an uptick in crime too. Santa Rosa County Sheriff Bob Johnson told residents they're more than welcome to shoot burglars at a Thursday press conference after a crazy man went on a home invasion spree in the northwestern portion of the Sunshine State. If somebody's breaking into your house, you're more than welcome to shoot them. In Santa Rosa County, we prefer that you do actually. So I'm hoping the sheriff's department is going to like branch off into a cleaning service because this could really come in handy. According to the Pensacola News Journal, the sheriff wasn't sure which homeowner shot a 32-year-old Brandon Joseph Harris, who has since been arrested and accused of committing a series of break-ins on Wednesday evening. We don't know what homeowner shot him. I guess they think they did something wrong, which they did not. Whoever it was, you're not in trouble. Come see us. We have a gun safety class to put on every other Saturday, and if you take that, you'll shoot a lot better. Hopefully, you'll save taxpayers money. The suspect has been arrested 17 times since the age of 13 and has been sent to prison for oh, come on, phone. 6.5 years for a home invasion. Yeah, Johnson said, some people just don't learn. For us, he is a job security. We deal with him all the time. Hopefully, this time he will go and won't get out. Um, Doubtful. Even though he's committing a felony, a BNE, he's probably going to get another 6 years. Learn some more tricks while he's in school, because that's really what our jail and prison system is. And do it again until somebody finally shoots him in the right spot. Gun advocacy group Concealed Nation said using your firearm to defend property is a gray area, but if an intruder is inside your home, all bets are off. You must do what you can to defend yourself and your home. Yeah. So, Florida Sheriff, we salute you. Because finally, a story out of Florida that didn't start out with Florida Man, for one. Yeah, okay. Watch Indonesia bans palm oil exports on YouTube. That is a video that I shared on there. It's very short. Goes into the palm oil ban to ensure that they have food for themselves. I wish that was a policy that our government enacted, but what was I saying earlier about a nation of idiots? Oh yeah, that's us. Whew, okay. Moving back to China, Beijing residents scramble to stockpile food essentials as new COVID outbreak detected. We should really be keeping an eye on this one, considering how things are going in Shanghai. Uh, China's policies have been insane when it comes to this. Hoping that the CCP might be easing its Shanghai lockdown were dashed this week as authorities loosened restrictions for manufacturers and other businesses while mostly keeping restrictions on residential areas intact. They can't even go out and get food. Instead of winding down restrictions in Shanghai, authorities are now scrambling to process an outbreak in Beijing, which they believe has been spreading for as long as a week. The capital city reported 22 local cases on Sunday, its highest daily tally this year. I'm just going to say, considering that they're also not releasing the death toll from Shanghai, I have a weird feeling that this is not COVID. I'm just going to say that. China right now is the only country that has reported cases of human avian flu. They're saying that it's not being. I feel like this is deja vu from 2 years ago. They're saying that it's not transferred human to human, and the death rate so far is about 50%. Um, Allegedly, these cases were due to close contact with birds and or at least poultry of some kind. But they're not acting like this is COVID. Now, we saw how they reacted with COVID 2 years ago, and they're doing the same thing. But the new strains of COVID are less deadly. So, what gives, and why are they being so secretive on the death toll for Shanghai to the point where they're throwing food away that should be going to people? Like, why are they limiting contact with the people of Shanghai, and why are they just letting them starve instead of supplying them with food? I don't know, but that's just my guess. They're the only country with avian flu human cases, and they're being really hush hush and overreacting when it comes to COVID. So I'm just putting that out there. What's the date today? April 25th. Yeah. If I end up being right, at least I have it on video. While the number of new cases would be considered inconsequential anywhere else, authorities have placed part of Beijing under high alert, canceling classes in the middle of school where cases were detected. With the shutdown expected to last for at least a week. Yeah, it was what, 2 weeks here to flatten that curve? As authorities mobilize to try and curb the spread with mass testing, which has helped to scare locals into bracing for lockdowns, spurring sudden runs on grocery stores and other businesses. I wonder why. Well, that's just crazy panic buying. Like they don't have any nearby examples in their own country of why you should just stockpile food in case you're stuck inside or have your door welded shut for long periods of time. As authorities mobilize and try to curb the spread with mass testing, whatever, which has helped to scare locals into bracing for a lockdown, spurring sudden runs in the grocery store and other businesses. After mass testing was announced for the central Chaoyang district, photos of empty grocery store shelves flooded social media. Chaoyang is the biggest district in Beijing and is home to nearly 3.5 million. I've heard 4 million, but 3.5 million people. Yeah, a ton of Twitter showing empty produce, empty food shelving. Don't be surprised if they start talking about doing something similar here again under Biden. Yay. Twitter shares jump as deal talks enter final stretch. So, to sum this one up, Elon Musk was able to find other people to back his bid to buy Twitter for $43 billion. The stock for Twitter jumped at the prospect of him buying the company. I don't know if it went any higher than his proposed sale price. There's a chart. Here's a chart. What does it say? I don't want your ad. It jumped up to $52 a share, which he was proposing. Oh, what was it? Something to do with 420. $52 a share. I think he was offering like $54.20. So it's still under what he's willing to pay for it. Yep, $54.20 a share. And it sounds like it might go through. and people are losing their minds. So free speech might make a comeback. We can be thankful for our African American citizens. Moving on, Chinese stocks, yuan, commodities crash as COVID plunges country into darkest moments in decades. I believe this is referring to the lockdown happening in Beijing. Last week's violent stock sell-off has resumed as a new week begins with Asian and European markets tumbling and U.S. futures trading in session lows, but nowhere is the panic selling worse than in China, where the stocks, commodities, and yuan all tumbled. Blah, 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 blah. Numbers, numbers, numbers. It's the biggest drop since February 2020 to the lowest level since May 2020, wiping out gains from a March pledge by officials to support the economy as fears that COVID outbreak in Shanghai is spreading to Beijing, sparking new concerns about China's economic and earnings growth outlook. Yes. So this new China's capital, Beijing, has begun mass testing and shutting down residential. It's weird. Yes, they're outside. Yes, they're wearing masks, but they're all standing in line in close proximity to have something jammed up their nose. Residents are staying in and stocking up on food in case they are confined to their homes. Yeah, I'm just thinking I should buy more ramen. Just a thought. Oh, last article. And then we get to cut this probably close to an hour. Exclusive food shortages magnified by a string of destroyed food processing facilities by the Western Standard. So this is more about the processing plants and all the different places that somebody's finally writing about this in the news, other than the isolated incidents that get picked up in local media. Last Thursday, firefighters contended with a massive blaze at California's Taylor Farms plant. That same day, an airplane crashed into Idaho's Gem State processing facility. Once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is aliens. 3 times is aliens. Food shortages have been exacerbated by a string of fires, plane crashes, and explosions at nearly 24 food processing facilities across Canada and the US. The number is higher, depending on the timeline that you go by. The most recent happened on Thursday in Georgia when a small plane crashed shortly after takeoff into a General Mills plant just east of Atlanta. 2 occupants of the plane were killed in the crash, as reported by the New York Post. I'm surprising they're using the New York Post as a source, considering they spread Russian propaganda like Hunter Biden's laptop. The company said basically any liquid product, such as honey, oil, and vinegar, will be out of stock due to the fire, as reported by Vision Times. The company also said it lost its fruit packing and carob product facility in the blaze, but said the effects will be minimal as fruit harvesting season hasn't started yet. The vegans and their carob, I stand in solidarity with you. I'm so sorry about your carob. Last Thursday, firefighters contended with a massive blaze at Taylor Farms packaging salad plant in Salinas, California, a key agricultural region, blah, 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 south of San Francisco. The fire broke out late Wednesday night. That same day, an airplane crashed in Idaho's gem processing 18,000 acres worth of potatoes each year in Idaho. The pilot of the plane did not survive, however, no employees were injured. April 13th, firefighters from several departments in Maine helped battle a massive fire that destroyed East Conway Beef and Pork Butcher Shop and Meat Market in Center Conway, New Hampshire. Investigators did not indicate the cause of the fire. In March, a reported fire that forced the closure of a Nestle plant in Jonesboro, Arkansas. The plant makes frozen foods, particularly hot pockets. How dare you? The frozen food plant announced its plan for a $100 million expansion last year. Hmm. The Penobscot Crumb Potato Processing Facility in Belfast, Maine. Potatoes. Why is it calorie dense foods? Was also destroyed by fire in March. Officials believe a deep fryer was behind the fire, as reported. In Canada, fire crews and paramedics responded after an explosion at the Centre de Valorisation de I don't speak French. An industrial food preparation and processing facility in Sherbrooke, Quebec. Quebec. Um, well, it's French and it's French food, so should I even read on with that? 5 people were injured in the March explosion that turned into a major fire. Quebec. And in late March, a fire in Maricopa Food Pantry, a food bank in Arizona, saw 50,000 pounds worth of food burn up, and yet another blaze in Texas based Rio Fresh severely damaged the onion processing facility. It goes on and on and on and on. This article's still going on. This is crazy. Skipping ahead, in July, firefighters battled a large fire at the River Valley Ingredients plant in Alabama. The cause of the fire was reported at the time as unknown. Another fire in July. Kellogg factory in Memphis, Tennessee was determined to be an accident. No injuries were reported. Dozens of crews were called in to help put the fire out in the brutal heat. It's still going on. Still going on. Still go. Oh, we reached the end of the article. Did not know the severity of what's happened with these food processing producers being affected in Canada and the US. But said anytime there is a decrease in supply, there's always upward pressure on pricing. Yeah, so this article goes into detail with a lot of these fires, the string of food processing facilities that have burnt up, explosions, airplane crashes. Definitely weird. Now, here's just the conspiracy theorist in me, but I do know that even smaller planes use GPS style navigation. Um, Autopilot is preferred when it comes to people flying these planes, especially short distances where they just kind of want to relax. It is their job, but once you're up in the air. So, if Russia is worried about GPS being shut off, why shouldn't we be concerned that GPS is being used in order to make certain events happen? Um, just saying, the one by the airport, that one doesn't really seem fishy. I mean, accidents happen by airports all the time. It's the takeoff and landings that are the most dangerous. But I do have to say, it's very convenient to turn a plane into a missile system. We've never seen that before. We don't have 3 alleged previous examples of airplanes being used as missile systems. Um, it's not a thing. So why would anybody look into possible GPS coordinates being plugged into navigation systems and planes in order to damage food factories and facilities and processing centers? It's just a thought. I don't know. Maybe Russia's been tinkering with something and saying, "Hey, we're using this. Who's to say they won't just shut it off for us?" Just a thought. So, we're at 1 hour and 5 minutes. It is 9:20. I've got time left to do some work, get some things done. That is all the news that I collected over the weekend. And hopefully everyone is doing well. I still highly suggest going out and picking up a can here, a can there, bag of rice, something to throw into the back of the cupboard that this summer, this fall, probably in the winter, you're digging around, you're going to find something in the back that you're glad that you stashed away. Having said that, hope everyone is doing well. Keep on typing.